Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Mark Walmsley. I'm the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. We're a growing global community of over 152,000 now across our 8 LinkedIn groups. And I don't get to meet everyone, but it's always a delight when I do. So I'm delighted that Lorentz has joined me today so that we can do a quick interview and I can introduce him to you. And we're going to have some fun. I'm going to take Lorentz on a fantasy cultural year based on the answers to 10 or so easy questions. Lorentz, welcome, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Mark, thank you. It's been it's a pleasure to sort of be here. Well, it's an honor because, I've been sort of able to sort of join such a respectable organization, which, I'm just amazed that I could get in.
Well, that's very kind of you. I'll quote you if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you so much for being one of our full members. We're entirely member funded as an independent organization. We don't have any grant making bodies, shareholders, advertisers or sponsors telling us what to do. We're a little bit pirate in that respect. And part of your membership fees will go towards good causes nominated by our members, and so that we can help those who need help. Examples include one of our members moved from South Africa to Canada, effectively negating her medical insurance, only to find out that she was there in Canada with a 5-year-old son and had been diagnosed with a rare breast cancer. So we were able to move some of our member revenue into her fundraiser, and I spoke to her a month or so ago and she's doing really well. So that's the way we roll. Our motto, as you know, is choose people who will say your name in a room full of opportunities. So, and that's how we roll. So thank you very much for contributing to that. So, right, before we go on our fantasy cultural year together, I wonder if you'd be kind enough to tell us a little bit about you and the work, some of which we can see behind you. I've been browsing your website before our call, and it's fantastic. I particularly like Harry Hill's eyes peering through his thick glasses. That was very cleverly captured. And there are some wonderful portraits on there, and lots of other things. So you're a polymathic photographer, I would suggest.
Thank you.
So where are you based? Tell us about your superpowers and your passions.
Well, I'm based. I live near Stratford-upon-Avon, a lovely little village just down the river, a flooded river at the moment, called Welford-on-Avon, and I have a studio in the North Cotswolds near Mickleton, Chipping Campden. I've had a reasonably long career, being an advertising and portrait photographer. I started in Birmingham in the 70s. Had a drive-in studio, used to do an awful lot of automotive work, and then I went on to sort of do much more travel-based work, and then sort of in 2010 I sort of was doing a little part-time teaching, and I thought I should do an MA, and that sort of was to become a lecturer in photography. And I actually sort of did my MA and rediscovered my passion for photographing people. So I started shooting people much more, and that's the core of my business now.
Well, while we talk and you tell us, I'm going to pull up your website, if that's okay, so that we can show some of our viewers your work. Wherever this appears, there'll be links to Lorentz's work. So let me share the screen and you can talk us through some of those. I'm particularly keen to have a look at the portraits. So this is at Gullachsen.com. Is that right? Yep. We won't have time to have a look at everything, but I love the portrait section. So are they all in here? Here they go. Yes.
That's it, yeah.
So there are some familiar faces here, which is great. Perhaps I could ask, you will know, browsing through, all of the images that you might have taken in a session, what is it that you're looking for the one that you choose?
I think it's really it's the way people engage to the camera. It's once you've got the sort of light right, it's just that sort of sparkle in the eye, and most of the time it is eye to camera. I mean, I do shoot people, looking away, but I think it's especially a lot of this series here. Most of them were shot at the Stratford Literary Festival, where I sort of set up a pop-up studio, and I shoot them. Sometimes I have 2 or 3 minutes, sometimes I have much longer. But there's one there with Amal Clooney, who was at the time, she was a barrister. I was shot at the Chambers in London, which she was a member of. And that was on my website. And that sudden when it was announced that she and George were getting together, that was the only portrait that existed in the world. So that went worldwide.
Wow.
But a lot of these people, yeah, I have the privilege of meeting them, but not necessarily spending that much time with them.
No, there is, but I get that entirely, but they look as though they're your friends.
Well, I'm an easy sort of going sort of person, and hopefully that is reflected in the photography.
Yeah.
It's also a matter of, sometimes, I mean, there's a shot of Graham Norton there, when in fact he was very pensive because he was very tired, but I really, thought, well, try and get a shot of him that's not his normal bouncy self. And I got him to be quite pensive, and he wouldn't stop smiling and being himself. So I was probably a little rude to him, and he sort of managed to, and I thought it was a much stronger shot because of it.
Yeah, it is. I love the Alistair McGowan as well, because he's clearly just about to burst into fits of laughter.
Well, yeah, but I mean, these are off, they're professionals. They know how it works. I enjoy photographing ordinary people as well. I mean, the butcher there was my local butcher.
Yeah.
And I just sort of rocked up and said, can I take your portrait? He agreed, not knowing that I was going to take a backdrop there and light him. But it became a much stronger shot by taking him out of the context of his sort of shop front.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Like a studio.
I love this. You've captured some kind of Tudor portrait style here. It that could be Thomas Cromwell,
Well,
couldn't it? I mean, it's so clever that there is something else going on. So these are great. Thank you so much for letting us have a look. These are at Gullachsen.com, and you can head to the portraits bit there. So thank you for talking us through those, Lorentz. Now, we're going to have some fun now. I'm going to take you on a fantasy cultural year. Now, to start this, I need to place you somewhere in the world. And I'm going to do that by asking you, what's your favorite building?
My favorite building is, I suppose, I was on Dungeness beach a few years ago, and there was a lovely shed which I photographed, and I just thought, oh, that's almost like that's all you need. It's just a shed on a beach.
That sounds.
That would be, sort of like I'd love a sort of pile in the Cotswolds. I'd love a beach side sort of place in Cornwall. But I'm happy to be wherever, as long as there's sort of the basics, because I've been rich and I've been poor, but I quite like just being comfortable.
That's nice. There's a lovely saying, isn't there? Sufficient is abundance to the wise. So That's how I live my life as well at the moment. Okay, so I'd like you to imagine you're at Dungeness, and with a view of the and you're taking some images of a really fascinating shed there, quite remote. And you've taken along a drink for a break. So you sit down for a break. And what drink would I find there at 6 p.m. on a Friday afternoon in June? What would be your drink of choice?
My drink of choice would be a non-alcoholic beer. I gave up alcohol 2 years ago, which everybody said I couldn't do. And it's been a total revelation. It's sort of, I have 2 or 3 extra hours in my day to be creative. And so I was a great lover of a sort of certainly sort of New World wines, certainly Californian wines. I mean, I had the pleasure of working out in California for Gallo and people, and I've sort of enjoyed a bottle of red pretty well up until 2 years ago, every day of my life. Since, but now I can, sadly sort of say, well, those drinking days are over.
There we go. So a non-alcoholic.
A nice non-alcoholic, certainly Guinness would be quite nice. Yes.
Right. Okay. That's great. And there's a book on your left. It could be your favorite book. It could be a book that's changed your life or saved your life even, or a recent discovery. What book might I find next to you?
I love photo books. I don't read as much as I should, but I strangely go back to Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh sort of has all types of people in there, and I always relate very much to sort of the Pooh character.
I don't want to. What did he used to say? I'm not eating it. I'm tasting it. Lovely. So we've got Winnie the Pooh, a zero alcohol Guinness, and you're there now.
Terribly strange.
Well, we can picture the scene. In fact, I've got a shed here that could be it. So I'm going to share the screen just quickly, just so that you can see where you might be. There.
That's it.
That's the fella. That's the fella. Excellent. Now, you're feeling quite pleased with yourself because you've just come from a meeting a day or so ago with a wealthy, is Dungeness Kent or Essex? I can't remember.
I don't know, actually. I think
Which side of the estuary is it? Let's check. I should know.
I should know. I mean, I've been there, but I haven't been there often. I mean, strangely enough, a Cornish beach would be my, a much preferred location. I had this memory of that sort of.
Yeah, it's a headland on the coast of Kent. So I'm quite close to Southend here, so you can probably swim across to it. So you're there. You've come from a meeting with a wealthy Kentish family foundation who like to support research in the arts and culture world, and they've seen your images, and especially your portrait images, and they would like to commission you to do a global tour photographing famous people in different countries, with a theme that you can develop. Okay. It's extremely well paid. It's first class all the way. There will be a TED talk in it. There will be a book deal for a photo book, a TV series, because you'll be meeting interesting people, and you're going to do a global university lecture tour afterwards. So it's and everything at home is going to be sorted out. Friends and family can come and see you during the year. All I need, I'm assuming that would be considered fun.
That sounds like perfection to me.
All you have to do is to decide which city and country you're going to start in.
It's got to be Italy, and it's got to be Venice.
Excellent. Right, you're on the plane. Okay. You turn left on the plane, and the steward brings you an alcohol-free Guinness and a note from the Kentish Family Foundation. And they want to do a little bit of an experiment on you while you're doing this. And one of the things they'd like you to do is to limit your musical listening to one very specific genre or type of music for the whole year, to the exclusion of all else. If you had to do that, what would you choose?
I would go the classic route. I never tire of classical music, from sort of Beethoven to Vivaldi, which would be very appropriate in Venice.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And you've got quite a choice there. You've got from Vivaldi to Hans Zimmer and
Yeah. I
Star
like
Wars.
that I could never tire of that.
No, that's a great choice. Excellent. Now we're going to you arrive in Venice, and a group of young photography students have been detailed to take you under their wing. They've found you a beautiful apartment on the main drag, the main wet drag in just off Park Square. And what's the bridge? Famous bridge there.
The Rialto.
That's it. That's the fella. The Rialto is in sight, and they want to take you out to a dance performance, and then dinner. Now, this is where three things come in that can make this an even more fantastical trip. I have a time machine, a magic wand, and a Star Trek transporter. Okay, so we don't have to stay in Venice for this. So I'd like you to give some thought to what dance performance you'd love to watch. It could be historical. It could be with any dancers, living or not. It could be with any dance style or any dance group, and it doesn't have to be Italian. So what would you be happy watching in a dance performance for a couple of hours?
Nijinsky. Is it Nijinsky? This sort of Russian dancer, and I suppose in sort of, would it be St. Petersburg or Moscow?
Yeah, we could do. Yeah.
And sort of doing dancing the Firebird.
Oh, lovely. I was playing the triangle at the end of the Firebird suite at Carnegie Hall. And I got the mention in the New York Times, not the first horn, who had to play that really difficult low entry. He wasn't at all pleased. Excellent. Now, what about dinner afterwards? Any national cuisine you like? It's going to be difficult because you are in Italy.
In Italy, it would be just some very simple seafood, just grilled fish and just a fresh salad.
Lovely. I love that. And that's great. Now we're going to hop again. So I'd like another city in a different country.
I love San Francisco.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. We're in San Francisco. Now it's sport day in San Francisco. And bearing in mind the magic wand and the transporter and the time machine, you could choose any sporting event you like, historical, current, what would you love to watch for a couple of hours in San Francisco?
Well, technically it wouldn't be correct because surfing was my love as for a long time, until I sort of got too old and too scared to die in the waves. But I love watching surfing. So I'd probably have to go down the coast a little to somewhere like Huntington and see a sort of like a surf contest.
Well, it just so happens, because of the magic wand, that the World Championships are happening there. So there you are. Good. Let's hop again.
Okay.
Where should we go?
Well, New Zealand is as a location is unfortunately a long way away, but physically, it's a beautiful country and it's full of beautiful people and a lot of sheep,
Yes.
and stunning landscapes. So I would like to return there, but the thing is with wishes, it's probably better to wish something you haven't done before. And
Mm,
strangely enough, I haven't been to Patagonia, and that's I remember sort of reading about that a long time ago, and I thought that's an interesting part of the world that still looks a bit remote and a bit interesting. So yes, I'd go to Patagonia.
excellent. Okay, well, in Patagonia, I'm not sure what's the capital. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll be there in Patagonia.
Yeah.
It just opened a new digitally enhanced art gallery, and you can put on a pair of virtual reality glasses and step into the work of a famous artist, walk around in 3 dimensions. It's animated potentially. If you could do that in that truly immersive environment, whose work would you like to step into?
Turner.
Sorry?
Turner.
Turner. Whoa.
You'll need to unlock your iPhone first.
No.
Oh, there we go. Nothing like live TV.
Right.
Turner.
Yeah, I mean, as a child, I sort of went into Birmingham Art Gallery and saw a Turner, and I was just moved by it so much, and still am when I go to the Tate Britain. I have to do it every 3 or 4 years because he moves me so much, because the quality of light that he sort of got across, it is so moving.
Yeah, that's a lovely choice. We have a member who people refer to him as Turner of the 21st century. Mark Noble, he does some wonderful seascapes as well.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, I've joined you in London. We're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On Monday, we're going to go to a historic pop or rock concert that you might have missed or you'd like to relive. Tuesday, we're going to a theatre play. On Wednesday, we're going to a West End or Broadway musical. Thursday, we're going to the opera, and Friday, we're going to the cinema. And we can choose between us what we watch. Is there, Lorentz, a pop, rock, or otherwise concert that you missed and deeply regret it, or one that you got to and you'd like to relive it?
Well, Bob Marley and Jimi Hendrix,
Okay.
both of which both of which I didn't see. I was lucky enough to get to Live Aid. As a young lad, I did manage to sort of see people like Cream. I even saw the Beatles as a kid.
Wow.
Because my father was a stills photographer and television, and I managed to see them on Thank You Lucky Stars. I was 12, but then yeah, I think Bob Marley would probably be, just because of his sort of the effect he had on culture.
Okay. He was in my list when asked this question as well. I was 12. No, how old was I? I was 14 in 1977 and had the opportunity to go to the Rainbow.
Ah.
And didn't.
No.
Just crazy. My father said he'd take me. Something came up and we couldn't go, but that was a shame. So yeah, I'm with you. So in our fantasy cultural year, we're back in the Rainbow Theatre in London in 1977. Unfortunately, we can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But there we go. Excellent. Now, are you a theatre goer?
Well, I live in Stratford upon Avon. It's hard to avoid it. And I love theatre. I don't actually take advantage of where I am enough, but I certainly do love theatre.
Excellent. Well, we can do some Shakespeare. That would be fantastic.
Well, I wouldn't do Shakespeare in London, because although they do get down to the Barbican, but the RSC is down the road for me. So
okay. And what about a musical?
I've never been a great musical lover, but I always remember West Side Story as being particularly powerful.
We'll go to the first performance
That
then.
would be fabulous.
I got to meet Bernstein when he came to the Guildhall while I was studying there. He conducted the symphony orchestra. It was great. Opera. Do you have a favorite opera?
I'm not a great opera aficionado.
In
I've seen a few over the years, but it's a long time to spend. And you know, the sort of the visual qualities of it I would like to sort of see, but I need to do that. That's
Yeah. Someone unkindly said they went to a Wagner opera. It started at 5 o'clock, and at half past and half an hour in, they looked at their watch, and 4 hours had gone by or something. Yeah, my brother used to play at Glyndebourne a lot, and they had an hour into the interval was an hour, so you could eat.
yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And what about we're nearly there. Okay, so what about a film? I'd like you to think of a film, Lorentz, that you love that I probably haven't seen.
I would imagine that you're so well read and so cultured, you've probably seen every film that I would recommend. But I'd go back to something like Lawrence of Arabia.
I've watched that in the last 6 months. I tend to work late and put movies on my iPad. Yeah, love it. That segment where Omar Sharif is riding towards him, a tiny black speck on the horizon.
Long shot.
Yeah, great long shot. Excellent.
Well,
that's
I
how
love, I love Lean, and I met Peter O'Toole, you know, as well as, so I suppose there's the twin connections there.
Yeah, love it. Right, we're nearly there. Finally, before I go back and I let you go and do your whole year-long tour, I'm going to give you a hero lunch. You can invite any single person for lunch, and they will come, historical or otherwise, living or not, famous or not. Who would you invite for a 2-hour lunch if you could invite anyone you liked?
I think Darwin.
Interesting. Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin. Yeah.
You were right.
He was right, and yeah, I mean,
brilliant.
It would to sort of to change the way we look at the world. So important.
And in a slight twist to that question, who do you think Charles Darwin would invite?
That is as they say, a good question when you're hesitant to come up with an answer. I would possibly
I think he might go. I've got an idea.
Yeah.
I think he might like lunch with Da Vinci.
Yes.
Okay, they're both pioneers, years ahead of, decades and centuries ahead of their time, arguably.
Yeah.
Actually, so there we go. Well, that's the first segment of your fantasy cultural year complete, Lorentz. You're going off now to take some wonderful pictures around the world of famous people and others. And you get home, the book deal's done, the TV show's in the can, you're going to do a TED talk, and then you're going to embark on your global university lecture tour. Have you enjoyed your fantasy cultural year, Lorentz?
This I could do every day. This has been, you know, it's wonderful. It's great talking to you, and to you know, I wasn't really prepared for this. I should have done my research for much better, because I'd have had all those answers there and then. But no, it's been absolutely fascinating, and yeah. But unfortunately, I think every day would be different for me to the way I would answer these questions, because that's the beauty. There's sort of like, there's always new stuff. There's always sort of something of interest, and art is.
Yeah. Well, there we go. This has been a delight. Thank you so much for sparing the time to say hello to everyone. And thank you again for being one of our full members. This will appear, we'll create a profile about you with your work, examples of your work for the website, and we'll pop this interview in there as well. So thank you very much, Lorentz, for joining me today. It's been a great pleasure.
Mark, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure for me.